The autumn night had settled over Eastbrook, street lamps flickering to life as Serena Brooks wiped down the last table at Maple Oak Diner. Her fingers moved in familiar patterns across the Formica surface, muscles operating on memory after her 8-hour shift. A strand of chestnut hair fell across her face, and she tucked it behind her, ear with a practiced motion, her gaze drifting toward the corner booth. The boy sat alone, small shoulders hunched over a barely touched grilled cheese sandwich. He couldn't be more than 7 or 8 years old, with dark hair, and skin that seemed too pale even under the diner's warm lighting. A comic book lay open before him, but his attention wavered. Serena watched as a shiver passed through his thin frame, despite the heated interior. He coughed, a hollow, concerning sound that made her maternal instincts flare. This was the 5th time in 10 minutes she'd found herself looking his way. Something about him pulled at her heart. The diner had emptied as closing time approached, leaving just this solitary child in his light. Jacket, occasionally glancing toward the restrooms or the door as if expecting someone. Serena abandoned her cleaning cloth and approached the booth, offering the gentlest smile she could muster. "Hey there, sweetheart. Is your food okay? Do you need anything else?" Her eyes caught the empty mug before him. "A refill on your hot chocolate, maybe?" The boy looked up, startled. His grey eyes were rimmed with red. From tears or illness, she couldn't tell. "No, thank you," he replied with unexpected politeness, his voice small and raspy. "I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. Up close, Serena could see the flush on his cheeks, the glassy sheen to his eyes. Acting on instinct, she reached out and placed the back of her hand against his forehead. The heat radiating from his skin confirmed her suspicions immediately. "You're burning up," she whispered, concern washing over her face as another cough shook his small body. "Sweetie, are you here all alone?" Serena asked, sliding into the booth across from him. Her closing duties forgotten, she scanned the diner. Just her co-worker, Ruby at the register, and Gus, the cook, wiping down his station. No anxious parent in sight. The boy hesitated, then nodded. My nanny was taking me home. I didn't feel good, so she stopped here to get me something warm to drink." His voice cracked slightly. "But she's in the bathroom. It's been a long time." Serena frowned, meeting Ruby's questioning glance from across the room. A sick child, left alone for this long, wasn't right. "My name's Serena," she offered gently. "What's yours?" "Theo," he whispered between coughs, small shoulders trembling with each one. Beneath the table, his fingers clutched an inhaler, perhaps for asthma. Ruby approached, wiping her hands on her apron. "Everything okay?" she asked quietly, eyes flicking to the coughing boy. Serena rose and pulled her co-worker aside. "This little one's burning with fever, and his guardian seems to have vanished. Can you check if someone's still in the ladies' room?" As Ruby hurried off, Serena turned back to Theo, whose eyes had welled with tears. "My throat hurts," he admitted, voice breaking. "I'm going to help you, okay?" Serena promised, heart aching at his vulnerability. Ruby returned moments later, her face pale. "No one in the restroom," she whispered urgently. "But there's a woman unconscious in the alley behind the diner. Already called 911. I think that's the nanny." Serena's stomach dropped. This child wasn't just alone. He was completely without protection in this moment, sick and frightened in a world suddenly turned upside down. Welcome back, friends, to another journey into the heart of human connection. If you're new here, I'm Mr. Roman, and these stories of life, love, and unexpected turns are my gift to you. Before we dive deeper into Serena and Grayson's world, take a moment to join our Story Vault family by hitting that subscribe button. Now, let's continue with a tale that might just restore your faith in the power of simple kindness. The evening had begun like any other for Serena Brooks at Maple Oak Diner. The familiar scent of coffee and fried food hung in the air as she moved between tables, with practiced efficiency, balancing plates and charming regulars with her warm smile. Maple Oak wasn't fancy, just a modest establishment with its red vinyl booths, slightly sticky menus, and the perpetual hum of the milkshake machine. but it had been Serena's workplace for nearly 3 years now. "Order up for table 7, Gus called from the kitchen window, sliding 2 plates of meatloaf and mashed potatoes onto the counter. "Got it," Serena responded, tucking her order pad into her apron pocket. She checked her watch. 7:45 p.m. Just over an hour until closing time. The diner crowd had thinned considerably since the dinner rush. A few regulars lingered over coffee refills, an elderly couple shared a slice of apple pie, and a group of college students occupied the large corner booth, textbooks spread across the table alongside half-eaten burgers. Serena knew the rhythms of this place as intimately as her own heartbeat, the morning crowd of construction workers and office employees grabbing breakfast, the lunch rush of nearby business people, and the dinner wave of families and evening stragglers. Tonight was Thursday, typically quiet, which suited Serena fine. She'd been on her feet since noon, and her nursing textbook waited in her locker, demanding attention for tomorrow's exam. Between full-time waitressing and part-time nursing courses, Serena's life was a carefully maintained balance of work, study, and the occasional few hours of sleep. "Hey, Serena, could you handle closing tonight?" Ruby asked, approaching with an apologetic smile. Ruby was in her 50s, with salt and pepper hair and laugh lines around her eyes. "My daughter's car broke down, and I need to pick her up." "Sure, no problem," Serena agreed without hesitation. She could use the extra hour of pay anyway. "Go ahead. I've got this." Ruby squeezed her arm gratefully. "You're an angel. I'll cover for you next week, promise." As Ruby grabbed her purse and headed out, the bell above the door chimed. Serena glanced up to see a slender woman in a tailored black coat enter, guiding a small boy by the hand. The woman looked harried, checking her watch with a frown as she led the child to a corner booth. "I'll be right with you," Serena called, delivering the meatloaf plates to table 7. When she approached the new customers a few minutes later, order pad ready, the woman was rummaging through her purse. "Just a hot chocolate for him," she said without looking up. "I need to make a quick call. Theodore, stay here and drink your hot chocolate. I'll be right back." The boy, Theodore, nodded quietly, his eyes downcast. There was something about his demeanor that struck Serena as unusual. Most kids his age would be bouncing in the booth, demanding to see the dessert menu, but this one sat perfectly still, hands folded in his lap. "And for you, Mom?" Serena asked. "Nothing, thank you." "I'll just be a moment." The woman stepped away, phone in hand, heading toward the back of the diner where the restrooms were located. Serena placed the hot chocolate order with Gus and returned to her other tables. The college students requested their check, the elderly couple left a generous tip, and gradually the diner emptied. As 9 o'clock approached, only Theodore remained in his corner booth, now with a grilled cheese sandwich Serena had suggested when she noticed his nanny hadn't returned. The boy had pulled out a comic book from his backpack but wasn't really reading it. His small fingers turned the pages mechanically, while his eyes frequently darted to the hallway leading to the restrooms. Time stretched on. 9 o'clock came and went. Serena started her closing routine, wiping down vacant tables, refilling condiment bottles, and straightening chairs, all while keeping an eye on the increasingly isolated child. By 9:30, concern had blossomed into genuine worry. The nanny had been gone for nearly an hour. Serena approached Theodore's booth again, crouching slightly to meet his eye level. "Your hot chocolate is empty. Would you like another one?" she offered, studying his face more carefully. Up close, she could see what she'd missed before, the flush across his cheeks, the slight sheen of sweat on his forehead, despite the chill outside. His eyes seemed glassy, unfocused. "No, thank you," he replied politely, then coughed, a deep, chest-rattling sound that didn't belong in a child so young. "Are you feeling okay, sweetie?" Serena asked, maternal instinct surging. Without waiting for permission, she placed the back of her hand against his forehead, the same way her mother had checked for fevers throughout her childhood. The heat radiating from his skin alarmed her. "You're burning up," she exclaimed softly. Theodore's shoulders slumped slightly, as if relieved someone had noticed. "I don't feel good," he admitted in a small voice. "My throat hurts, and I'm cold. Where's your... Serena began, then caught herself. The lady who brought you in, what's her name? Marina, he answered. She's my nanny. She said she'd be right back. Serena glanced at the clock. 9:40 p.m. Marina had been absent for over an hour. Something wasn't right. I'm going to check on her, okay? My name's Serena. What's yours? Your full name? Theodore Whitlock, he said, then added, but everyone calls me Theo. The name Whitlock tickled something in Serena's memory. She'd heard it somewhere before, possibly in the local business news. Okay, Theo, I'll be right back. You stay here and rest. Serena headed toward the restrooms, knocking on the women's door. Hello? Marina? Are you in there? No response. She pushed the door open to find the bathroom empty. Returning to the main area, she caught Gus's attention. Gus, have you seen a woman in a black coat? She came in with that little boy over an hour ago. Gus shook his head. Haven't seen anyone except the regulars. Want me to check outside? Please, Serena nodded, growing increasingly uneasy. While Gus went to look outside, Serena returned to Theo, who was now visibly shivering despite the diner's warm temperature. Theo, I think we should call your parents. This isn't normal, and you need medicine for that fever. Theo's eyes widened with worry. My dad's at a meeting. He doesn't like to be interrupted. I think he'd want to know you're sick, Serena assured him gently. Do you have his number? Theo hesitated, then reached into his backpack and pulled out a smartphone. Marina has his number in her phone, he explained, handing it to Serena. I know the code. It's 1-2-3-4. Serena couldn't help but smile at the simplistic password as she unlocked the phone. The lock screen wallpaper showed Theo with a tall, distinguished-looking man, presumably his father, both smiling against a backdrop of mountains. Before she could open the contacts, Gus burst back through the diner's kitchen door, his face pale. Serena, call 911. There's a woman collapsed in the alley behind the dumpsters. Serena's heart dropped. Stay here, Theo, she said quickly. I'll be right back. She rushed after Gus, out through the kitchen and into the alley behind the diner. There, crumpled on the ground beside the dumpster, lay a woman in a black coat. Marina. Her face was ashen, her breathing shallow. Marina? Serena knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. It was there, but weak and rapid. Marina, can you hear me? The woman's eyelids fluttered, but didn't open. Beside her lay her phone, which had fallen from her hand. Gus was already on his cell phone with emergency services, giving them the diner's address. They're sending an ambulance, he reported. Said to keep her warm and not move her. I think it might be diabetic shock or something similar, Serena said, drawing from her nursing studies. Her skin is clammy, and she's unresponsive but breathing. Her mind raced to Theo, sick and alone in the diner. Gus, can you stay with her? I need to get back to the boy. Go ahead. Gus nodded. I've got this. Serena hurried back inside, finding Theo exactly where she'd left him, though now he looked terrified. Is Marina okay? He asked immediately, his voice quavering. Serena sat beside him in the booth, placing a comforting hand on his small shoulder. The paramedics are coming to help her. She's sick too, it seems. But don't worry, we're going to take care of both of you. She picked up Marina's phone again. Let's call your dad now, okay? This is definitely an emergency. Theo nodded miserably, then pointed to the contacts icon. His number is under Mr. Whitlock. Serena found the contact and pressed call, her heart beating rapidly. This was not how she'd expected her Thursday night to unfold. The phone rang only once before a deep, authoritative voice answered. Marina? Why are you calling during my board meeting? Is everything all right with Theo? The sharpness in his tone made Serena straighten involuntarily. Mr. Whitlock? This isn't Marina. My name is Serena Brooks. I'm a waitress at Maple Oak Diner on 5th Street. There was a pause, then the voice returned, now tense with concern. Why do you have my son's nanny's phone? Where's Theo? Theo is here with me at the diner, Serena explained quickly. He's running a high fever and needs medical attention. Marina appears to have suffered some kind of medical emergency herself. We've called an ambulance for her. She was found unconscious behind our building. A sharp intake of breath came through the line. "Is my son all right? Put him on, please." Serena handed the phone to Theo, who took it with trembling fingers. "Dad?" His voice sounded small and scared. "I don't feel good. Marina brought me here for hot chocolate because my throat hurt, but then she didn't come back." He coughed again, the sound wet and concerning. Serena could hear the father's voice soften immediately, though she couldn't make out the exact words. After a moment, Theo handed the phone back to her. "Miss Brooks?" The voice was now controlled but urgent. "I'm leaving my meeting right now. I'll be there in 15 minutes at most. Please, stay with my son until I arrive." "Of course, Mr. Whitlock," Serena assured him. "I'll take good care of him." "Thank you," he said, and in those two words, Serena heard genuine gratitude and relief. "Theo means everything to me." The call ended, and Serena slipped the phone into her apron pocket. Outside, she could hear the wail of approaching sirens. "Your dad's on his way," she told Theo, who looked marginally relieved. "The ambulance is almost here for Marina. How about we get you something to help with that fever while we wait?" She went to the first aid kit behind the counter and returned with a digital thermometer and some children's fever reducer she kept for emergencies. After checking that Theo had no allergies, she helped him take the medicine and then placed the thermometer under his tongue. 102.3 degrees Fahrenheit, much too high. Serena dampened a clean cloth with cool water and gently placed it on Theo's forehead. "This will help you feel a little better until your dad gets here," she said softly. Through the diner windows, Serena could see the flashing lights of the ambulance as paramedics rushed into the alley. Minutes later, they wheeled Marina out on a stretcher, with Gus following behind. One paramedic entered the diner, looking around until Serena waved him over. "Are you the one who called?" he asked. "My co-worker did," Serena explained. "I found her unconscious. This is her charge." She gestured to Theo. "His father is on his way. Do you know what happened to her?" "Looks like severe hypoglycemia, possibly diabetic related," the paramedic replied. "We're taking her to St. Vincent's. The boy doesn't need to come unless he's related." "He's not," Serena confirmed. "But he's sick himself, 102 fever and coughing. His father should be here soon to take care of him." The paramedic nodded sympathetically. Poor kid. Rough night for both of them. He handed Serena a card. "This has the hospital information if the father wants to check on the nanny's condition." After the paramedic left, Serena and Theo watched through the window. As the ambulance pulled away, lights flashing but sirens now silent. "Is Marina going to be okay?" Theo asked, his voice wobbling. Serena squeezed his shoulder gently. "The paramedics are taking good care of her. She needs help right now, just like you do. But you're both going to be fine." Theo leaned against her side, his small body radiating heat from the fever. Serena put her arm around him protectively, struck by how quickly she'd come to care for this child she'd just met. They sat together in silence for a few minutes, Serena occasionally replacing the cool cloth on Theo's forehead as they waited. Gus returned to finish closing the kitchen, giving Serena a thumbs up to indicate he'd handle it. Just as the clock hit 10:15 p.m., the diner door flew open. A tall man in an expensive suit burst in, his face tight with concern. His piercing blue-grey eyes scanned the nearly empty restaurant before landing on the corner booth where Serena sat with Theo. "Dad," Theo called out, his voice strengthening slightly at the sight of his father. Serena knew immediately this was Grayson Whitlock. In person, she could see the resemblance to Theo. The same dark hair, the same determined set of the jaw. But where Theo was all childish softness, his father was all sharp angles and commanding presence. As he strode toward them, Serena felt a strange flutter in her chest. Something told her this encounter would change everything. Grayson Whitlock crossed the diner in powerful strides, his presence immediately commanding the space. Despite his tailored suit and the affluence it suggested, his face betrayed raw panic, the universal look of a parent whose child was in danger. His tie hung loosely around his neck, as if he'd been tugging at it in. Distress, and his normally immaculate dark hair was slightly disheveled. "Theo," he breathed. reaching the booth and kneeling to his son's level. His voice, which had sounded so authoritative on the phone, now carried nothing but tender concern. "Hey, buddy. I'm here now." Theo attempted to stand, eager to reach his father, but swayed unsteadily from the fever. Serena gently steadied him, and Grayson's eyes flashed to her, a quick, assessing glance. That softened with gratitude when he saw her supportive hand on his son's shoulder. "You must be Miss Brooks," he said, extending his hand after gathering Theo into a protective embrace. "Thank you for calling me, for taking care of my son." Serena accepted his handshake, noting the strength in his grip and the unexpected warmth of his palm. "Please call me Serena," and I was happy to help. "Theo's been very brave." Grayson pressed his lips to Theo's forehead, wincing at the heat radiating from the child's skin. "He's burning up. I should get him to a doctor." He glanced at his watch. "Though, at this hour, I gave him some children's fever reducer about 20 minutes ago," Serena explained. "It should start working soon." His temperature was 102.3, high, but not emergency room high, unless it spikes further. Grayson looked impressed. "You seem to know what you're doing." "I'm studying nursing part-time," Serena admitted with a small smile. "Between shifts here." "Dad," Theo murmured against his father's chest, "is Marina going to be okay?" "The ambulance took her away." Grayson's jaw tightened slightly. "I hope so, buddy. We'll check on her tomorrow." He looked to Serena. "Did they say what happened?" The paramedic mentioned severe hypoglycemia, possibly diabetes-related. "They took her to St. Vincent's." Serena retrieved the card from her apron pocket and handed it to him. "All the information is here." Grayson tucked the card into his suit jacket, then stood with Theo in his arms. The boy seemed small against his father's broad shoulders, his face flushed with fever against the crisp white of Grayson's shirt. "I can't thank you enough," Grayson said, reaching for his wallet. "Please, let me compensate you for your time and trouble." Serena immediately shook her head. "That's really not necessary, Mr. Whitlock." "Grayson, please," he corrected, pulling out several $100 bills despite her protest. "And I insist. You've gone above and beyond." Something in Serena bristled at the gesture. "I didn't help your son for money," she said firmly, though kindly. "Anyone with a heart would have done the same." Grayson paused, the bills halfway extended, looking genuinely taken aback. People probably rarely refused his money, Serena realized. After a moment, he slowly returned the cash to his wallet, studying her with newfound curiosity. "Well then," he said quietly, "thank you, Serena. Your kindness is refreshing." Theo coughed against his father's shoulder, a harsh sound that made both adults wince. "Dad," he wheezed, "can Serena come with us? She makes me feel better." The request caught both Serena and Grayson by surprise. They exchanged uncertain glances, Serena's cheeks warming slightly. "Oh, Theo, she began. "Actually," Grayson interrupted, his expression thoughtful, "that's not a bad idea. If you're willing, he clearly trusts you, and I could use an extra pair of hands until I can get a doctor to make a house call." Serena hesitated. Her shift was technically over, and Gus had nearly finished closing the kitchen. But the thought of leaving Theo when he was so ill, especially after he'd specifically asked for her, "I'd be happy to help," she found herself saying. "Let me just check with my manager." A quick conversation with Gus confirmed he'd finished closing and explained to their boss. Minutes later, Serena found herself sliding into the back seat of a sleek black sedan beside Theo, while Grayson sat in front passenger seat, instructing his driver to head home. Theo leaned against Serena's side, his small body heavy with exhaustion. She placed a cool hand on his forehead, humming softly, a tune her mother had used to comfort her when she was sick as a child. From the front seat, Grayson occasionally glanced back at them, his expression unreadable in the passing streetlights. The car moved smoothly through the city, leaving the familiar working-class neighborhood of the diner behind and heading toward the affluent north side of Eastbrook. As they drove, Serena gazed out the window, watching as modest apartments and small businesses gave way to increasingly grand homes set back from tree-lined streets. She'd rarely ventured to this part of town, having no reason to visit the neighborhoods where homes cost more than she'd likely earn in a lifetime. The driver turned onto a private lane and approached an ornate gate, which opened automatically as they approached. Serena's eyes widened as the Whitlock estate came into view. A modern mansion of glass and stone, dramatically lit against the night sky. Manicured gardens stretched in all directions, and a fountain played at the center of the circular driveway. "Here we are," Grayson said quietly, noticing her expression. "Home sweet home." There was something in his tone, not quite irony, but perhaps a hint that he knew how overwhelming this display of wealth might appear to her. Serena focused on Theo instead, gently rousing him as the car stopped at the front entrance. "We're here, sweetie," she whispered. "Let's get you inside and comfortable." The front door opened before they reached it, revealing an older woman in simple but elegant attire, not quite a uniform, but clearly professional. "Oh, thank goodness," she exclaimed, her face lined with worry. "I've been so concerned since you called, Mr. Whitlock. I have Theo's room ready and some soup warming on the stove." "Thank you, Edith," Grayson replied, carrying Theo inside. "Marina's at St. Vincent's. I'll check on her condition once Theo's settled. This is Serena. She's been helping with Theo tonight." Edith nodded politely to Serena, though curiosity flickered in her eyes. Serena offered a small smile in return, suddenly very aware of her diner uniform, with its coffee stains and the faint smell of French fries clinging to her apron. The interior of the home was just as impressive as its exterior. Soaring ceilings, modern art on the walls, and furnishings that looked straight from a design magazine. Yet despite its grandeur, Serena noticed touches that made it a home. A child's drawing framed alongside expensive artwork. A collection of model airplanes displayed on a shelf, a well-worn teddy bear peeking out from beneath a pristine couch cushion. Edith led them upstairs to Theo's bedroom, a spacious room decorated with a space theme, complete, with glowing stars on the ceiling and planet mobiles hanging from delicate wires. A large bed with navy blue covers dominated one wall, while bookshelves filled with children's books and toys lined another. "Let's get you into pajamas, buddy," Grayson said, setting Theo down gently on the bed. The boy swayed slightly, still weak from fever. "Can Serena help?" "You always put the buttons wrong, Dad." Grayson chuckled, glancing at Serena with mild embarrassment. "He's not wrong. I'm apparently incapable of matching buttons to their correct holes." Serena laughed softly. "I'd be happy to help." With practiced ease that came from years of caring for younger siblings, Serena helped Theo change into soft, rocket ship pajamas, while Grayson stepped into the adjoining bathroom to wet a washcloth with cool water. Together they settled Theo against his pillows, the cool cloth on his forehead providing immediate relief. "How about some soup, young man?" Edith asked from the doorway, carrying a small tray with a steaming bowl and a glass of water. "Try a few spoonfuls," Serena encouraged when Theo looked uncertain. "It'll help your throat and keep you hydrated." Grayson watched as Serena gently coaxed his son to eat, her movements confident and nurturing. Something in his expression shifted, a softening around the eyes, a slight release of the tension he'd carried since bursting into the diner. "Where did you learn to be so good with children?" he asked quietly. Serena smiled, helping Theo with another spoonful of broth. "I practically raised my younger siblings while my mom worked double shifts. You pick things up fast when you have to." After finishing half the soup, more than Serena had expected him to manage, Theo's eyelids began to droop. The fever reducer was working. His skin felt cooler to the touch, and his breathing seemed easier. "Time for sleep, I think," Serena whispered, tucking the blankets around him. "Will you stay until I fall asleep?" Theo asked, his voice small and drowsy. "Of course," she promised, sitting on the edge of the bed. She began to hum again, the same soothing melody, her hand gently stroking his hair. Grayson pulled a chair beside the bed, watching the scene with an expression Serena couldn't quite interpret. Within minutes, Theo's breathing deepened into sleep, his face peaceful despite the lingering flush of fever. Serena rose carefully, nodding to Grayson that they should let him rest. They left a small nightlight on and the door slightly ajar before stepping into the hallway. In the dimmed lighting of the corridor, An awkward silence fell between them. Serena suddenly felt out of place in this magnificent home, standing beside a man who clearly moved in circles so far removed from her own. "I should probably call a car to take you home," Grayson said, though he made no immediate move to do so. "It's getting late." "Yes, I suppose so," Serena agreed, though she felt a strange reluctance to leave. "I hope Theo feels better in the morning. The fever reducer should help him through the night, but you might want to check his temperature every few hours." Grayson nodded, then seemed to make a decision. "Would you join me for a cup of tea first? I'd like to talk to you about something." Curious, Serena followed him downstairs to a warm, inviting kitchen that felt surprisingly homey despite its professional-grade appliances and marble countertops. Edith had left a teapot and cups on a tray before apparently retiring for the night. As Grayson prepared 2 cups of tea, Serena took a seat at the kitchen island, watching his confident movements. For a wealthy man who probably had people do everything for him, he seemed comfortable making tea. "Milk? Sugar?" he asked. "Just a little honey, if you have it," she replied. He found a jar of honey